Hello, interwebs. Welcome to The Fuse. We're going to talk about really quickly today, does God exist? We're going to talk about the existence of God, which is on the religious studies module. We're going to talk quickly about what we mean by God, first of all. So if I look up on Google who is God, then you get these images. That's what Google Images comes up with, this idea of an old guy with a big beard, or there's a kind of white Jesus, although obviously Jesus wasn't white. He was a Middle Eastern looking man, because he was of course born in Palestine. You get these images of light sometimes, or if you're talking about Hindu gods, there's a whole range. There's 330 million Hindu gods. Don't ask me to name them all. Are we talking about Greek gods? Are we talking about the Hebrew name for God, which is this one, which is Yahweh, although Jewish people would say we don't know how to pronounce it. Or of course in Islam you're not supposed to depict God in any way, so this is the name of Allah, which literally means the God. There's one God in Islam, that means the God. Allah means God, Al means the. Or we're talking about Zoroastrian gods. Okay, today we're focusing on the Judeo-Christian idea of God, the Abrahamic idea of God, which is the same in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, broadly speaking. He has 5 main qualities, which are he's omnipotent, he's all-powerful, he's omniscient, all-knowing. So omni means all, and potent means powerful. Like if something smells potent, it is very strong, so he's all-powerful. Omniscient, all-knowing. Scient is where we get our word science, which means knowledge. He's also omnibenevolent. If you think about French, bien means well, so he's full of goodness. Omnipresent, everywhere, like in me, in you, in the camera, in the computer, in the shirt, everywhere. As well as transcendent, independent of the material universe, so beyond the material universe, as well as in the material universe. Another word for that is immanent. But there you go. Why people believe one, this is the first thing you need to know, is the idea of causation, the argument from causation. So the cosmological argument, created by St. Aquinas originally, goes like this: that everything that has a beginning needs a cause. Okay, so if you think about anything in your life, whether it is the fact that you now have GCSEs, that has a cause, because we needed a standardised system of examining to make sure who's bright, who's intelligent and who's not intelligent, and the cause of that was that we needed to develop society. And why do we need to develop society? Because human beings are not very stable, and we need to figure that out. And then human beings came, of course, through the process of evolution. Evolution started when the Earth was formed, billions of years ago, and before that the Big Bang. And then this is the big question, right? If the universe must have had a beginning, so must have a cause. So it must have had a beginning, because everything we know has a beginning, so it must have had a cause. This is what St. Aquinas said. So there must be a first causa that itself was not caused. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And that first causa we call God. So that's the first argument, the argument from causation. There must have been one thing which does not need itself to be caused to start the universe going, and that being, we give the name of God, or Allah, or Yahweh, or whatever you like. That's the picture of Aquinas, although he almost certainly didn't look like that. Everything happens, has a cause. If we follow everything back to the beginning, we come up to a first cause that started everything off. This cause was God. You don't need to learn that quote, but I hope that makes it clearer. What people believe too is the teleological argument, or the design argument. The idea that all complicated things need designers. Okay, there must be a designer who made the world. For instance, the guy who came up or made this idea famous, a guy called William Paley, used the example of a watch. If you found a watch in a field, you wouldn't just think the field had produced it out of nothing. You would think that, okay, that watch must have come from someone who made it, designed it, and left it in the field. So if the universe is infinitely complicated, which it is, if you think about things like the specialization of function in a single human cell, you've got mitochondria, and you've got the Golgi apparatus, I think if that's correct, and loads of ribosomes, and like it's so complicated. A single cell makes a watch look like rubbish. Right, a cell is incredibly complicated. Then the universe must have an infinitely powerful designer, right? And that designer we call God. This is the design argument. The idea that the universe is so complicated it needs someone to have designed it and put it together. Reason to believe 3 is religious experience. The first one is numinous, this idea of awe and wonder. Many people have had this feeling when looking at a sunset, or listening to their favourite song, or being close to someone they really love and it feels like there's something going on that's bigger than just them. This feeling of numinous experience is a good word to learn. I suggest you do. People get it at football matches, people get it at gigs, people love going to festivals, a feeling of epic, wow man, my life is huge, it's so wonderful, it's awesome, literally awesome. Miracles is another one. People experience miracles, or they hear of someone who has had a miracle happen to them. So people might believe in God because of that. Answered prayer, so people ask for something and then it happens, therefore God must exist to have made that happen. And conversion, the idea that people have powerful conversion experience and this is a picture of St. Paul, very famously, perhaps the most famous conversion experience, he was persecuting Christians, and he saw a vision, a blinding white light descended, and says, "Why did you persecute me, Saul?" Saul believed that was Jesus speaking to him, this blinding light. It changed his name. He changed his name to Paul, and became the most famous and influential Christian that ever lived. So most of the New Testament are about the writings of Paul rather than the stories of Jesus, although Christians would say that it's part of one story. Are you following? If you're not following, pause it, rewind. It will make sense, we hope, inshallah. Why do we believe 4? Upbringing. Okay, so these are different things, and the Christian way of bringing people up and the Muslim way of bringing up. If you're a child and you've been brought up in these systems, then of course it seems natural to believe in God, because everyone around you believes in God. You've got a ceremony when you're born, you've got godparents in Christianity who promise to protect you from the devil and renounce all his ways and to teach you in the way of Christ, although that's rarely the function that godparents actually play, often today in much of the world, in much of the UK anyway. Godparents just are sort of someone who is supposed to give you an extra present sometimes. Maybe you disagree, write a comment. Taken to church, maybe you go to a religious school, and primary schools are often religious, and they'll sing sort of religious songs to each other. Festivals, Christmas and Easter. Are you singing? I bet you're singing some primary school songs right now, aren't you? My favourite one was "Autumn days when the grass is jewelled and the silk inside the chestnut shell. Helicopters waiting in the air to be refuelled. All the things I love so well. Oh, I mustn't forget. Say a great big thank you. I mustn't forget." That stuff's still in my head. Still in my head now, and it's like 25 years ago. So yeah, that gets into our minds, doesn't it, our bodies, and it changes the way we think about the world. So upbringing affects people's belief. Doesn't make it true, but it affects people's belief. You get Christmas and Easter, of course, which are fun. You get presents, you think the religion is good, maybe, you link them together in your head. Maybe you go to church once or twice a year, Christmas and Easter, for the carols, for the tradition. Even Richard Dawkins admits he likes carols, who's a famous humanist. And in Islam, similarly, if you're a Muslim, there's the AQA ceremony, which is when you're born. The adhan, the call to prayer, is whispered into the ear of the child to make a statement. This child's life, is about him pleasing God. They're taken to mosque, maybe they'll go to a religious school. Some Muslim students who I teach go to Arabic school for 2 or 3 hours, sometimes after school. So they have school and then an hour to do homework and then 3 hours of learning Arabic. So, it becomes really ingrained into your mind. You're taught to pray at a young age, and the same thing. Festivals, fun things. Eid, after 40 days of fasting, which is intense, respect to all Muslims who do that, is this wicked celebration, right? You get all your mates and family together and you share food, and you even, traditionally in Eid, you take food round to your neighbours, so your community gets involved as well. Beautiful idea, beautiful. Why people believe 5, morality. So objective good and evil exist. I just read something shocking about a couple who killed a toddler, tortured a toddler to death. That's so evil, right? We can all agree that is evil. So that's the idea that objective good and evil exist. It's not just my opinion. Let's all agree killing kids, doing shocking stuff like that, it's not okay. We all agree it's evil, right? So charity is good, we all agree on that. Starving kids, 16,000 kids die a day today when you're watching this, unnecessarily because of the way we do trade. It's a complicated issue, and famine, and the climate change. We know that's evil, right? Objective good and evil exists, right? So there must be a source of objective good and evil, and the only reasonable response is if there's a source which objectively tells us what is good and what is bad. That must be beyond human creation, and that must be God, right? That must be the source of it. That's what the argument for morality says. Have a look. Make notes while you watch this, otherwise you'll forget it. Here's some arguments why people don't believe. The first one perhaps is science. Science has given us more material progress in the last 100 years than religion has for thousands. It's evidence-based. Everyone can agree on it. People of all faiths, backgrounds and races can agree on findings made by science and contribute to knowledge. It doesn't matter whether you believe in the Quran or the Bible or the Bhagavad Gita or the Guru Granth Sahib, or You're Testing Me Now, or the Vedas or the Upanishads or the Tipitaka. Doesn't matter. Doesn't require a God to work, right? Science works. You're watching this now because science works, right? And look, the idea of evolution is perhaps more reasonable than the idea that God created the world in 7 days, especially when we consider how awesome that monkey is. Look how good he is. I love him. And the idea of the Big Bang, the idea of there's a singularity, we can explain, sort of, we have a theoretical structure for how the universe came to be as it is, and it doesn't need a God. Except before the Big Bang, the moment before the Big Bang. But don't talk about that. Really quick comparison. If we think about this, in the 6 days of creation story, which you should know for the exam, God first created light and dark, right? God created time and light and dark, and then the Big Bang, maybe that's a metaphor for the Big Bang, light and dark. There was nothing, and then the Big Bang, there's light, there was darkness, maybe it's a metaphor. Then there's a formation of stars in the scientific explanation of the universe, and then the formation of planets, and the next thing that comes in the creation story is sky and sea. Do you see they're quite similar? Like the formation of planets and sky and sea, that's quite a similar idea, and then dry land and plants, so it sort of makes sense. Formation of seas and land comes next in the scientific idea, and formation of plants, so they're sort of matching up each other here. Do you see that? Then you've got sun, moon and stars. Okay, that's a bit out of place, isn't it? Awkward. Fish and birds come next, and according to the idea of evolution, the fish were the first things to evolve, and then animals, and dinosaurs are actually the living relatives on the planet, other than tortoises and crocodiles. Closest to dinosaurs are like birds, are like chickens. Chickens are like the closest thing to raptors that we have. So we could say that if fish are the first thing, then maybe all of this, maybe this story is a metaphor for the scientific explanation. Is that possible? That this religious story is a metaphorical truth that actually science confirms. Some Christian scientists believe that to be the case. And then of course after that we get the pinnacle of human evolution known as Netflix. Don't watch any Netflix right now. Finish the video. And subscribe. Why people don't believe too, evil and suffering, yeah. I think everyone can relate to this. If God is supposed to be all powerful, omnipotent, say it after me, omnipotent, and he knows everything that's going on, if he's omniscient, all-knowing, omniscient, and if he's morally perfect, if he's benevolent, all-loving, and he wants to end evil, then what's the deal? Why is there this couple killing this toddler? Why are ISIS beheading people for no other reason other than the fact they follow a slightly different kind of Islam than they do? So either God doesn't exist, if evil exists, or he's not all of those. And if he's not omnipotent, omniscient and morally perfect, benevolent, then why call him God? So that's another reason people don't believe. Christians and Muslims might respond to this by saying maybe this life is a test. This life is nothing but an illusion, a test. Of real life, many religious believers believe, is the next life, right? Heaven or hell or paradise or purgatory if you're a Catholic, although some Catholics don't believe in that anymore. It's complicated. There's a blessing in the storm, that should say, but there's a spelling mistake. There's a blessing in the storm. There's a blessing in the storm. Maybe the difficult stuff in our life teaches us growth and wisdom. I can say that's true in my life anyway. The idea that we are being refined in this life like gold is refined in a furnace, but the Lord is refining our hearts rather than gold. It's a metaphor. If you don't understand it, don't worry, skip it. Also, unanswered prayers. How is it that one person can pray for a car parking space and it's there and they're like, oh, that's how I knew God was with me, but then on the other hand, people die of cancer who are 20. Might have a whole family praying for them. Please don't let this person die of cancer. I love them. Don't let them die. But then they die anyway. So, who is this God who gives car parking spaces to one person and lets a child of someone die of cancer on the other? So some people would say God doesn't exist for that reason. Responses to unanswered prayer you should know as well. Religious people might say, well, God says no. He has a better plan for you. His greatest gifts are unanswered prayers. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. If someone dies, maybe that future is an afterlife for religious believers. Maybe it's not this life. That's what they might say. There are some practice questions for you to practice your exam skills. Remember to answer the question. Don't go ranting, right? And especially, I'll do a different PowerPoint on this. If it's a 6-mark question, respond to the statement, not something else. So morality proves that God exists. You have to say some people might agree that morality proves that God exists because of this, this and this. On the other hand, some people would say it doesn't prove that God exists because of this, this and this. I hope that's clear. If you've got any requests or something's not clear, please leave a comment. I'm always happy to answer comments. It makes me feel important and wanted. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Wishing you well. Good luck. May all things be well. Bye.